Hello and welcome to my Tatyova Benthic Druid EDH Commander deck. As you know, whenever you play land, you get to draw a card and gain a life. I'd like to talk a little bit about the build. It's not a combo deck, it's not an aggro deck. It's more of a toolbox, I would call it, where you get to actually think and figure out how to outwit your opponent, and that's kind of what I like about it. It's not boring, it's fun to play, and most of all, you win a lot with this deck. So without further ado, we're going to get to one of the most important parts of the deck, which is the mana base. It's really important, along with the artifacts in the deck too, which is you'll see at the end here. So we'll get started with the lands. So running one basic forest. You're like, well, I thought you said it was the most important part. Well, it is. I'm only running one basic forest, but I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 snow forest, and we'll get to the reason why we're running forest instead of basics in a minute. And then we're running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 snow-covered islands. All right. Rating pool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're running 6 fetches. Flooded. You'll notice that polluted delta is not in here. Our mana base is kind of greedy, so I opted not to run polluted, even though I do have it, because we're not running as much blue in the beginning. Green is a little bit more important, so that's why I opted not to run it. But anyhow, we got a Flooded Strand, Scalding Tarn, Misty Rainforest, Wooded Foothills, Verdant Catacombs, Windswept Heath. And now we get into some of the other lands. We got Reliquary Tower. We're going to be drawing a lot of cards, so we need no maximum hand size, which comes in pretty handy. Temple of the False God. Field of Ruin. I opted to run Field of Ruin instead of, say, Ghost Quarter, Strip Mine, Wasteland, stuff like that. And the reason for it, even though everyone else gets searched, so do we, and it'll trigger our commander for another draw versus, you know, us being down a land. We still keep our mana base, you know, to keep going forward with our mana and whatnot, and we get to draw a card out of it. So get rid of a problem land, get a card draw, gain a life. Homeward Path. We got some big dudes in here that people would definitely want to steal if given the opportunity, but with this land, we tell them no, you can't have it. All right, Ghost Town. Say we have Burgeoning down. Keep returning this to our hand. Keep playing the land, triggering our commander, and keep drawing. All right, Phyrexia's Core. Pay, tap, sack an artifact. You gain 1 life. You'll see why this is important to the deck as well. So this is one of the lands that I'll talk about a little bit later. So I'll put this off to the side. Dark Depths combo is in here with Thespian Stage. If you remember that we were running, instead of running just basics, we were running snow-covered forest and islands. So Dark Depths, Thespian Stage, we all know the combo. Copy it, becomes a copy. Sack both. You'll sack one because of the legendary rule, and the other one, which would be this one, without the counters, and you'll get Merit Lage, a 2020 indestructible creature on the field. I've had this as soon as turn 3 if I want it, but I just wait till the end of my opponent's turn 3, and then I'll go ahead and crack this, see what mana they're showing. If they can't do nothing about it, crack it. Now I got a 2020 without Summoning Sickness because I did it on the end of their turn. So, Inventor's Fair, another really important land. This helps us set up our board. It says 4, sacrifice Inventor's Fair, search library for an artifact, reveal it, put it into your hand. So with this, we go searching for artifacts depending on what we need at the time. But usually if I'm doing this, I usually want to go get a Sword of Feast and Famine, which you'll see here later on in the video, and I'll explain why that is also so important to our deck. All right. Probably one of the single most important lands in the deck. I don't know that this land would run, or this deck would run the same without this land here. Academy Ruins. Tap 2, tap, put target artifact on top of your graveyard. So this deck is made to be resilient. Yes, you can get remove one of our threats, but we have ways of bringing stuff back. So that's the whole idea around this deck, is the recursion. We keep bringing stuff back. And yeah, you get rid of it, but it's a two-step process. First, you have to destroy it from the board, and then you have to try to remove our graveyard if we don't answer your threats first. So that's why this is kind of important. And the stuff that you'll see in this deck here is either we can bring it back, or we got a way of bringing it back, or we got a way to go search for it. There are some cards, obviously, that we can't bring back as easy as other ones, but that means that I thought they were really good through playtesting, and decided to keep them in the deck, and we'll get to those. But if you guys got any ideas to make this deck better, I'm all ears. I want as competitive of a deck as I can make, and with a little help, we'll see what we can do. All right, Alchemist Refuge lets you kind of cast stuff at instant speed and whatnot. Really good, especially we'll be keeping mana open, and I'll show you why we'll be keeping mana open. This will help where we can still flash stuff in and not totally waste our mana, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Orbital Palace in the Clouds. We have some enchantments, obviously, that this would come in really handy, as well as creatures that allow us to pay extra lands. So pretty much play it, tap it. You're floating the mana, return it to your hand. You can keep doing it over and over until you meet all your land drops return, so you don't miss a single land drop, and we keep drawing cards and gaining life with our commander. Dryad Arbor. Through playtesting, I actually love this card. I actually replaced Birds of Paradise with this. For obvious reasons, I can go search for it on turn 1 if I have a fetch. That allows me to go get a forest, or one of the other spells that we run in here that allows us to go get a forest as well. So we have this on the board usually turn 1, and then by that time we're setting up our board to go get like Sword of Feast and Famine, where we get to attack and then unblock, and this guy untaps with it once we do damage, because it has protection from green and black, I believe. And so this guy's really important to the deck as well. Get him out early. He's a chump blocker, and with some of our creatures and artifacts that we have, we can just keep bringing them back and chump blocking over and over. So again, goes with the deck, the theme of the deck, bringing stuff back and keep recycling and using it over and over again. And this is one of those things that we keep bringing back. All right, we got Farseek. Search your library for plains, island, swamp, or mountain. In this card, in this case, it's going to be an island, where we go search for an island. We can go get, our shark land or one of our snow-covered lands, and this helps us ramp up. So turn 2, we're already putting extra lands on the field, which helps us get our commander out a turn early. I've had her out, I think, as early as turn 3. And it's worked really well. Once you get her out, this deck is just going to take off, and you'll see. It's really fast. Rampant Growth, go search your library for a basic card and put it in play tap. Into the North. All right, this card is really important and is one of the reasons why we have snow-covered basics in our deck. Not only that, if you remember, it also lets us go search Dark Depths, which is also a snow-covered land. So, and that's why I'm running this in. I get to put an extra land into play on turn 2 now. And if we need to, we can go set up our Dark Depths combo. So really good. All right, Nature's Lore. Search your library for a forest card, reveal that card, and put it into play. Not even tap. So with this, we can actually go get Dryad Arbor. We can go seek him out with this if we need to, or we'll just go grab a basic or whatever else we need to get. All right, Kadoma's Reach. Search your library for 2 basic land cards. Reveal them, put one on the play tap, and the other one in your hand. Cultivate, pretty much the same thing as Kadoma's Reach. So we're ramping hard here. All right. Exploration, play an additional land on each of your turns. Really good. So, like I said, Orbital Palace in the Clouds, we can keep casting that to trigger our commander to draw if we don't have enough lands and just tear through our deck. But usually lands aren't a problem, so This helps us our deck take off as well. Turn 1. Burgeoning Ghost Town is really good with this, and so is Orbital Palace in the Clouds. Just keep returning them to your hand, and every time they play a land, we play one, and we keep drawing, tearing through our deck. Propaganda. Each turn, each creature cannot attack unless its controller pays 2 for that creature. So against those aggros deck, this will kind of slow them down, and they can't come at us with everything unless they pay, 2 for each creature. Slow them down. Heuristic Study. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, draw a card, and unless they pay 1. So a lot of people, they don't opt to do that, and we're drawing cards, digging for our lands, digging for our answers. So that's what that's there for. Here's something that's rather unique, I think, to my build. If you read it, if you would draw a card, you may instead choose a land or non-land and reveal the cards from the top of your library. All right. So every time we draw a card, we get to decide what we want to do. Usually, once we got Orbital Palace in the Clouds out, we just keep returning it to our hand and cast until we meet our land drop, and then we're just drawing everything except for lands. By that point, once we got this out, our board is usually set up to where we just need to search for answers, and search for cards, and set up our board, and then take over the game. So this card is unique to this build, and I really like it. Give it a try, and I think you'll grow to love this card too. Abundance, that's where it's at. Alright, Zendikar's Royal, 5-drop enchantment. Whenever land enters the battlefield, put a 2/2 token onto the battlefield. We can trigger this as much as 5-6 times, if not more, in a turn. So you can see that this card can get out of hand really quickly. Alright, a little bit more Rampier's Secret Tribal. We can sack him and go search for a basic, and put it onto the battlefield tap. So he allows us to get out of the gates even faster. Alright, so along with swords, our creature would have protection from green and black. I put Chasm Skulker in there because if you read, when he dies, we put 1/1 blue squid tokens with Island Walk onto the field. So so there would be another player that we could attack with swords to get to untap all our lands when he does combat damage. So it won't just be the green and black player. If we got a blue player, they can't block them, and we're going to do damage to that if swords is equipped to one of these little guys. The whole point is to untap our lands and get to cast more stuff and just overwhelm our opponent. So that's why I opted to put this guy in there instead of like some of the other creatures you might see. So another, guy to deal damage to with swords. Course of Kufrex. So now if this guy's on the field, every time a land falls, we gain 2 life if we have a commander on the field. So play with the top card of our deck revealed. So if we have abundance on the field, we get to choose what we want, So if we see it's a land, and that's not a land that we can necessarily use like one of our utility lands at the time, we can opt to go with non-land and then bypass that, put it on the bottom of our library, and get to some other answer, So, boom, that's why he's in there. All right, Round Up Excavator. You may play land cards from your graveyard. He's the creature form of Crucible of Worlds, which you'll see later on in the video. We have him. Pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, we want to keep bringing back stuff like Dryad Arbor or Inventor's Fair or Academy Ruin. If they start any one of our utility lands they try to destroy, we want to be able to bring back with the guys like these. So that's why he's in there. Eternal Witness. Self-explanatory. We all know why she's so good. We can return a target card from our graveyard to our hand. That is just really good. So any one of our cards we can bring back. If we need answers, we cast her, bring something back from our graveyard to answer something that we might need on the board if it's in our graveyard, or maybe we got countered, but guess what? We can bring it back. Wayward Swordtooth. Play an additional land on each of your turns. So this is where we really get out of hand. We get to outpace our opponents by just card drawing and playing extra lands. So with all the extra land drops that we'll have, we'll actually probably double opponent's mana pretty easily throughout the game. So, and there's a way that we can reset their board, which we'll get to later in the sorceries, or the instances, I should say. And we'll set them back, and then we'll just take off, and hey, we'll see you guys later. Eat our dust. Azusa, Lost But Not Seeking, play 2 additional lands. Everybody knows why she's really good, self-explanatory, boom. Oracle Moldiah, play an additional land as well. Play with the top card revealed. If it's a land card, you may play it. We all know she's really good. Alright, so Pathbreaker Ibex. I opted to go with him over, I can't think of the name, Behemoth, Craterhoof Behemoth. I opted to go with him over him. I know he has haste, but usually by that time we got our Greaves on the field, and we got haste with them anyways. And since we're not going wide with creatures, that's why I thought he was better than Craterhoof in this particular build. If you're going wide, obviously Craterhoof is it could be better, but I like this because we play big dudes, and we're gonna pump all our dudes up with trample. And hey, good luck trying to stop that train. All right, Progenic Mimic. This is if someone's strong, hey, guess what? We get to match whatever you're doing. I don't know if you guys ever thought of this, but here's a pretty cool combo. Copy Eternal Witness. You get to, if you got a graveyard full of stuff, you get to bring a card back every turn. I'm running Bribery when we get into the sorcery. So imagine casting Bribery every turn and searching your opponent's deck for their best creature every turn. Can you imagine that? Our board gets out of hand pretty quickly, and I've done that, and it's just a really good combo. Not to mention the other things you can do with the Progenic Mimic. So, Royal Elemental. Imagine putting this on Royal Elemental. Every time you play a land, now you're taking 2 creatures. Can you imagine that? That's just a really good combo as well. One of our win cons too. So again, the whole theme of this deck is for us to get stronger throughout the game goes, and they get weaker, and you'll notice a lot of that going on in this deck here. Rampaging Baloth. Whenever land enters the battlefield, put a 4/4 green token. Again, I know a board wipe would probably, crush this, but I mean, it's just too good to leave out of the build, so that's why he's in there. Same goes with the Vendro Zendikar. He was just too good to leave out of the build, and really good. Mystical Tutor. We'll have this in our hand, and it lets us go search for answers. So that's why I got it in there. If we need a Cyclonic Rift or whatever we need to reset the board, or maybe we got enough mana to cast the Bribery the turn coming up, and we see that the blue player's tapped out, so we know we're going to get away with the Bribery. So hey, why not set it up and go for it? Pull from Tomorrow. I know what you're thinking. Oh, why is this card in here? You don't need to draw cards. Well, you got to think of it other ways too. All right, it says draw X cards, then discard a card. Let's have a Ulamog in here that lets us recycle our graveyard. So let's say someone targets our graveyard and they want to exile it. We can actually, if we have Ulamog in our hand, we can actually discard them and recycle our graveyard, and then they avoid getting rid of the stuff that they wanted to get rid of in our graveyard. So that's why I have this in here. Or let's say you're playing against a black a player who's running black, and they go to tutor and they only have the 1 card in hand. Hey, draw X cards and discard that card. So you got to think of it different ways like that. Or maybe we got a card on top that we really need for an answer on the board. We have the mana to do it. We'll draw that card, and then boom, we're set. All right, Constant Miss. Buy back, sacrifice land. Creatures deal no combat damage. This can have, use this over and over because we can sacrifice the land and then just bring it back with the Crucible of Worlds and run up Excavator. So good luck trying to do damage to us, guys. Pact and Negation. When people think you're tapped out, they think they can do whatever they want because you're playing blue. Hey, guess what? You can't. Mana Drain. I put this in here, to counter, people's, Chords Calling and all that good stuff where they got X and they can put all the stuff, the permanents onto the field and whatnot. So that's why I got that. So that's why that's in there. Disallow lets you pretty much counter anything on the board. Just a really good card. Mystic Confluence, we can return creatures to their hand, so that's kind of why that's in there. Or if we need to draw a card, boom. Usually people can pay to 3, but you can choose them all 3 times so that they can have to pay up to 9. So, Reigns of Power, untap all creatures you control and target opponent control. So, I usually like to do this on my turn so that I can take their creatures from them, and I have Ashnod's Altar in the deck, and usually they have more creatures than we do, so I'll swing at with them. I'll swing at either at them or I'll swing at the next biggest threat and let them, duke it out, and hopefully get rid of a bunch of creatures that way. And whatever's left from the opponent whose creatures I stole, I usually sack them all. So that's a really good trick there. Cyclonic Rift, self-explanatory. Reset the board. You don't like the board, they're stronger than you. Hey, let's go back to square one. All right, here's another unique thing. So once we got something that allows us to play extra lands, go ahead and cast this, return all lands to their owner's hand. So now their board is reset, and we know we're going to come back. We're playing 2 for 1. Especially if you have burgeoning. Now, we all know everybody's going to play land because they got lands. Or if you want to bait out a counter spell, this is definitely going to bait out a counter spell. And make way for the stuff you really want to cast to. If they counter, that's fine. Maybe we can bring it back with E-Witness and cast it over again. So you're not going to get rid of us that easy. Sylvan Scrying lets us set up our board whichever way we might need to go. If we need to go get Inventor's Fair, Academy's Ruin, whatever land we might need, this lets us go get that land whenever we need it. Curse of Swine. For people that are playing cards that are indestructible, this is really good. So, pretty self-explanatory. Fabricate, again, lets us set up our board and our artifacts, whatever artifact we might need to go get set up our board. This helps a lot. Scape Shifts, sacrifice any number of lands. So this is huge. So we can we can go get up all our utility lands that we might need that we don't have already. Sacrifice them, triggers our commander, and we get to draw that many cards, gain life. This card is just really good and probably should be in every Tatyova build if you have it. All right, Rite of Replication. You'll notice when we get to the artifacts or most of the creatures, they're not all legendary, and that's why this is in here. So we get to copy, or we'll copy their strongest creature. Maybe something we took with bribery, but if we kick it, we get to put 5 of those tokens onto the field instead of 1, and you'll see some of our win cons that are really good, and imagine having 5 of those on the board. Wow. I opted to go with the Primal Command over Worldly Tutor, even though it's a big mana difference, and the reason why is just the versatility. If there's they have a permanent that I can't deal with at the time, maybe reset their board, put it back on top of their library. We could protect our graveyard if we have to. There's something in there we want back in that we want to tutor for, or we'll go search our library for a creature card and whatnot. So that's why I did this, more modes. And there's the card, Bribery. This card has won me so many games. I highly recommend putting this card in. At 5 drop, we get there with no problem. We get there fast. Tooth and Nail. I usually go tutor for It That Betrays and Ulamog. I usually put them on. The reason why, it's the whole theme of us getting stronger than them getting weaker. If they don't counter it, I usually have Greaves on the field, so I give Ulamog haste, swing, Annihilator 4, so whatever they sacrifice comes back to us. And we get stronger, they get weaker. Beacon of Tomorrows, like with Royal Elemental, and we got some other stuff where it allows us to steal their creatures. Maybe they have summoning sickness and we want to be able to swing at them or whatever. So take an extra turn, shuffle it back into your library, and guess what? We get to smack them with their own creatures or whatever we got on the board. No more summoning sickness. Termot's Crypt. I got this for Grave Hate. With Academy Ruins, we get to bring it back over and over. We get to flash it in with one of our lands that we had, and people don't see it coming. Flash it in, boom, hey, get rid of your, I'm going to respond, get rid of your graveyard, dude. Alright, Soul Ring. Everybody knows Soul Ring. There's the Greaves we've been talking about. Give our creatures hexproof and haste. Alright, Chromatic Lantern. Since our Mana base is so greedy. This allows us to tap for any color, so it kind of mana fixes if we need it. Ashnod's Altar, like I said, we're going to be taking everyone's creatures or permanents or whatnot, and we're going to be sacking them, so they can't have them back. Mirage Mirror, I can't say enough about this card. This also goes with Dark Depths. We can copy it and get Mirror Age onto the field as well. Someone actually played their own Dark Depths, and I copied theirs, and you know, I guess they didn't see the combo coming, but I was like, hey, I'm going to copy it. Now I got Mirror Age and you don't. So this card is just so versatile. I can't say enough about this card. Loxodon Warhammer gives our creature plus 3/0 trample and gives us lifelink. You know, for people to have tokens, they can chump block all day. If we don't have one of our annihilators on the field, so that's why trample, they need to like hold back. They can't really swing out because they have to wait, because we have trample and we can still do damage to them. Not only that, equip this to Mirror Age, and you know, we're gaining 23 a turn, so that's really good. Crucible Worlds, get to play lands from our graveyards. Right on. Swords, plus 2/2, protection from green and black. Usually it's, if we're going to search for an artifact, it's either going to be Crucible Worlds or Swords here. And early on, we want to get this out because it allows us to untap our land, so we get to do stuff main phase, and then we get to do stuff on our second main phase because we untap their land. So it's almost like a 2-for-1, so that's why this card is really key to our deck. Nevermind this, you don't like what's going on the board, reset it and start over. Worm Coral Engine, cast it out. A board wipe comes, no problem. We're still left with two 3/3 tokens, one with lifelink, one with death touch. Still Hellkite, so there we go. We get to swing at our opponent and destroy pretty much what we want. So that's why I like this, a little bit of a... So you'll notice the theme here. We're stealing their creatures, we're getting stronger, we're destroying their stuff, and we're kind of controlling them in a sense, right? Platinum Angel, we get to search for an artifact. If someone's coming out super aggro and it doesn't look like we're going to catch up, we'll search for this guy. Now they have to destroy it, you know, so boom. Spine of Ishna, if you remember Phyrex's Core, we get to sacrifice an artifact and we gain 1 life, right? So it's with this, we cast it, destroy it, goes back to the graveyard, comes back to our hand. If you read it, we get to do that over and over. So again, we're kind of controlling our opponent. If we don't like what they have, we're going to go destroy it, and multiple uses out of 1 card. So that's kind of the theme, the recursion theme. That's one of the things too. All right, Memnarch, also a 7-drop, but look at this. Say they have an artifact, you know, they got a Soul Ring for 4 mana, which if you think about it, it's going to really be 2 once we get their Soul Ring. We'll steal all their artifacts, and if another problem permanent on the field, we'll turn it into artifact, and then boom, so we attack with swords on tap, or we'll pay the 3 to make it an artifact, and then second main will pay the 4 to go ahead and steal that artifact. So we get stronger, they get weaker. Darksteel Colossus, again, board wipe's not going to do nothing to this guy. They make us discard, he goes right back into our library. And we get to copy him if we need to copy him. He's not legendary. Alright, here's the monster. Again, Infect. Indestructible, just hard to deal with. So he's an artifact and we can search him out. So that's the thing, we get to search for artifacts with the Inventor's Fair. Ulamog, one of our big win cons, Annihilator 4, he's just a beast. So there he is. It That Betrays, remember I was talking about Tooth and Nail? I usually go get these 2 guys, swing for 4, we get the, whatever they sack, we get control of, so we get stronger, they get weaker. Alright, don't like target permanent, maybe they got something that's indestructible, another way to exile you know, something we can't deal with, so that's what Karn is. Alright, and then Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Pretty self-explanatory. Another thing, control the board. We don't like it. Reset the board, exile your stuff, and we'll go from there. So usually the longer the games go, we usually grind them out, and they can't do anything. This deck is I tried to make it really competitive, and I've been playing Simic for like 2 years. I started off with Krufix, God of Horizon, and then once I saw Tatyova, I decided to build around her. I noticed that with Krufix, you had to catch like something or draw with her. She is the draw engine, so that's why I really wanted to build around her. Well, that's my deck tech. Any help you guys can give would greatly be appreciated. If it's a fair argument and you think something's better than a card that I haven't thought of, with the exception of all the stuff that you normally see, I've probably played tested almost everything out there, and this is the final build of what I decided to go on, and it's been working out great for me. Let me know how you guys do with this deck, and if it works for you, or if you're like, hey, try this. If I haven't tried it already, I'm all ears and I'm willing to try it. And dude, let's go kick some butt. OP Magic, let's go. All right, hey, thanks guys for watching.